The galaxy was silent. No radio waves. No trade signals. No human voices whispering across the stars. Just the cold, endless dark. The Ellerin Dawn drifted quietly through the black sea of space, her silver hull reflecting faint blue starlight. Inside the bridge, alien screens pulsed with data, energy readings, atmospheric scans, and ghostly echoes of a planet long dead. Captain Varel, of the Voktar Empire, stood at the observation window. His skin, scaled and glimmering like obsidian, reflected the pale light of a ruined world. Before him lay Earth, silent, gray, and still. The once blue oceans had turned into dull mirrors of ash and ice. The continents, once filled with sprawling cities, were cracked and lifeless. Only broken towers rose like bones from the dust. "So, it's true," said Lyra, the ship's engineer. Her voice was soft, her tone full of disbelief. "Humanity is gone." No one answered her. They had all heard the stories every species in the galaxy had. Humanity, the species that once defied the laws of physics, who built machines that could tear holes in space itself. The species that waged war against gods, and won, more than once. And yet, here was their home, dead and empty. The ship's sensors whispered faint beeps through the silence, collecting data from the surface. Radiation levels were low. The air was breathable, but there was no life, not even microbes. Earth had become a tomb. Varel's tail flicked slowly, a gesture of unease. "Mark the coordinates. We'll send a report to the council. There's nothing left here." Lyra hesitated. "Captain, there's something odd in the readings." He turned his head slightly. "Explain." Her clawed fingers danced across the console, pulling up the holographic projection of the planet. A faint red pulse blinked beneath the ruins of what was once New York City. "It started 3 minutes ago," Lyra said. "A repeating energy signal. Faint, buried deep underground. Could be a malfunction," said Surik, the navigator. Lyra shook her head. "No, it's rhythmic. Patent. It's alive." The bridge fell silent. Varel stepped closer to the hologram. "Alive. After 1,000 years." Lyra's voice trembled. "It's a pulse. Repeating every 10 seconds. Like a heartbeat." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Located. Depth, approximately 900 meters below surface level. Sector Delta 5, ruins of Manhattan." Surik frowned. "That area was vaporized during the last human war. Nothing could have survived." "Apparently, something did," said Varel. For a long moment, the only sound was the soft hum of the engines. The signal kept pulsing on the screen, steady, patient, like something waiting. Varel straightened his posture. "Prepare for descent." Lyra looked up, alarmed. "You want to land? On Earth?" "Yes," he said simply. "If there's something still beating down there, we need to know what it is." Surik hissed softly, his tail twitching. "Captain, with respect, this world was declared forbidden. The last research vessel that entered the Sol system vanished without a trace." "Then we'll be careful not to vanish," Varel replied. "Bring us down." The Ellerin Dawn broke orbit, its engines burning bright against the dark side of Earth. As they entered the atmosphere, dust storms rolled across the continents like gray waves. The ship's hull rattled as it passed through layers of debris, fragments of old satellites, shattered warships, pieces of humanity's final battle. Lyra watched from the viewport as they descended over what was once North America. The land was scorched black, covered in ash and twisted steel. Rivers had dried into cracks. Skyscrapers leaned like broken teeth. "This planet feels angry," she whispered. Varel didn't respond. His eyes were locked on the scanner's display. The signal was getting stronger. Pulse. 10 seconds. Pulse. 10 seconds. A perfect rhythm, beating through the bones of the dead world. The ship landed softly in the middle of a vast, ruined plain. The remains of New York stretched around them, towers reduced to stumps, vehicles turned to dust, the sky a dim orange haze. They stepped out onto the surface. The air was still and heavy, thick with the scent of burnt metal. Each step echoed through the silence like a whisper in a graveyard. "Lyra, direction of the signal." She raised her scanner. Northwest, 200 meters. It's coming from beneath that collapsed structure. They moved cautiously, their footsteps crunching against glass and rubble. Faded signs still clung to the ruins, old human letters spelling out names long forgotten. Central Station, Library, Times Square. When they reached the spot, Lyra stopped. Her scanner was shaking in her hand. The pulse was louder now. She could almost feel it through the ground. "It's right here," she said. "Below us." Varel looked down at the cracked concrete. "A bunker, maybe." "Captain," Surik said quietly, "you feel that?" The ground trembled, just for a moment, as if something beneath them shifted. Dust fell from the broken ceilings. Then silence again. Varel's eyes flicked toward Lyra. "Get the drill. We're going down." Lyra hesitated. "So, what if it's dangerous?" He turned to her. "Everything about this world is dangerous. But something called us here. Something that's been waiting for a very long time." As the ship's machinery whirred to life, breaking through layers of ancient stone and metal, the heartbeat grew louder in the air. Boom. Pause. Boom. And far beneath the surface, in the dark, something stirred. Something not quite alive, but not yet dead. The aliens couldn't hear the faint whisper that followed the pulse. A voice, soft, human, ancient, drifting through the static. Lazia's protocol, still active. Virel froze. "What did you just say?" Lyra looked up in confusion. "I didn't say anything." Then the voice came again, through the static of their radios. "Humanity, awaiting reactivation." The captain stared at the cracked earth beneath his feet, a chill running down his scaled spine. Humanity was gone, but something was waking up. The drill of the Ellerin dawn cut deep into the bones of Earth, sending clouds of gray dust into the air. The alien crew stood around the opening, their visors glowing faintly against the gloom. The deeper they went, the louder the pulse became, echoing through the metal floors of the ruined city. It was slow, heavy, and alive. Captain Varel watched the scanner as the last layer of concrete broke open, revealing a wide tunnel leading into darkness. "Activate lights," he ordered. Beams of cold white light pierced the black, revealing walls of strange metal untouched by time. It was human construction, but unlike any they had ever seen. The alloy shimmered faintly, repairing itself as dust touched it. "Self-healing metal," Lyra whispered. "This technology, it's centuries beyond anything the humans were known for." They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing through the tunnel. The deeper they went, the more intact everything became. Pipes hummed faintly, and faint blue lights flickered along the walls, reacting to their presence. "This place still has power," Surik said in disbelief. "After all this time." Lyra nodded, her voice trembling. "This was no bunker. It's something else. Something meant to survive forever." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. The crew froze as their lights revealed the sight before them. Thousands of statues stood in rows, except they weren't statues. They were machines, sleek, armored, humanoid. Each one bore the symbol of a winged circle across its chest. "Are those soldiers?" Surik whispered. "No," said Virel slowly. "Guardians." As they stepped closer, the machine's eyes flickered faintly with dying light. None moved, but each looked ready to awaken at a moment's call. The hum of energy surrounded them, vibrating through the air. On the far wall, covered in dust, a massive door stood sealed shut. Across its center glowed ancient words in faded blue. "Project Lazarus." The words meant nothing to the aliens, but they carried a weight, a silence that felt sacred. "Lyra," said Virel quietly, "record everything." She nodded and began scanning. As she worked, her fingers brushed against a panel near the door. It lit up instantly, startling her. Symbols in ancient human language began scrolling across it. The door gave a deep, metallic sigh, as if breathing after centuries of sleep. "Captain," Lyra said quickly, stepping back. "It's responding to touch. I didn't activate anything." Virel moved closer, studying the glowing symbols. They shifted into a pattern, repeating the same message again and again. Life detected. Human DNA confirmed. Access granted. The chamber trembled softly. The ancient machine's eyes flickered brighter, like ghosts remembering life. DNA confirmed. Surik said, alarmed. But we're not human. Lyra's voice was faint. The signal, it's reading something inside us. Residual traces. Maybe from contact, from scanning the surface. Before she could finish, the massive door began to move. Dust fell like rain as ancient gears turned, releasing a sound that shook the floor. The air grew thick with static and heat. Slowly, the door opened inward, revealing a glowing mist beyond. Captain, Lyra said in a whisper, this might not be safe. Safety was never guaranteed, he replied. Let's see what humanity left behind. They stepped through the opening. The mist cleared, and what they saw made them all stop breathing. Beneath the earth stretched a city, an entire human city, preserved under layers of glass and light. Buildings stood tall, untouched by time. Roads, gardens, vehicles, all frozen in silence. It was like walking into a dream that refused to die. This is impossible, Surik muttered. A world beneath a world. Virel looked around, his voice low. They built a sanctuary. Lyra's scanner flickered wildly. Captain, there are energy readings everywhere. Some systems are still active. And there's biological data too. Biological? Yes. Faint, but human. They followed the readings through empty streets lined with shining metal and shattered signs in human text. Every corner told a story. Children's toys scattered in the dust. Digital screens frozen mid-broadcast. Vehicles parked as if waiting for their owners to return. The silence was heavy, full of ghosts. They were here when it happened, Lyra murmured. They didn't die. They went to sleep. Ahead, they reached a wide plaza with a circular building at its center. Over the entrance, half buried in dust, was the same glowing symbol from before, the winged circle. The scanners screamed with energy. The signal's coming from inside, Lyra said. Virel gave a single nod. Proceed. Inside the building, the walls were lined with pods, thousands of them, each filled with a figure lying in perfect stillness. Men, women, children, humans. Their faces were calm, peaceful, untouched by decay. The air was filled with the soft hum of machines still doing their duty. The crew stood in silence, awed and afraid. This is not a grave, said Lyra softly. It's a cradle. Virel approached one of the pods, wiping dust from its glass. Inside lay a man, broad-shouldered, dressed in a uniform of black and silver. A faint light blinked on the control panel beside him. Pulse detected. Vital signs weak, but present. Is alive, Lyra whispered. After all this time, they are still alive. Virel's expression hardened. Project Lazarus, he said slowly. Lazarus, the one who rose from the dead. The chamber lights flickered again. Across the room, consoles powered up one by one, screens displaying human text and strange symbols. A mechanical voice filled the air. Soft, cracked, but clear. Stasis integrity at 12%. Revival sequence aborted. Manual override required. The aliens exchanged uneasy looks. Lyra's hands trembled over the controls. Captain, we shouldn't touch this. We don't know what could happen. But Virel's eyes never left the sleeping man inside the pod. We came here to find what remained of humanity, he said. Now we have. He placed his hand on the panel. Lights flared bright white. The heartbeat, the one they had followed from orbit, roared to life through the floor. The human's chest moved. His eyes twitched beneath closed lids. The machine voice spoke again. Revival sequence initiated. Lyra gasped. Captain, you triggered it. Virel stepped back, watching as the pod filled with white light. The hum turned into a scream of energy. The man inside opened his eyes. The man inside the pod gasped for air, his body shaking violently as white steam poured out around him. The sound of the release echoed through the underground city like a thunderclap. The alien crew stepped back in alarm, their scanners flashing with warnings. His heartbeat was fast, wild, impossible for a creature that had been asleep for 1,000 years. Lyra's voice trembled. His breathing. Captain, his actually breathing. The man's eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharp and burning with strange light. He looked around, coughing, trying to sit up. His skin was pale but strong, his movements slow and heavy like someone waking from a long nightmare. Captain Varel stepped forward cautiously. "Do not move," he said. "You've been in stasis for a very long time." The man stared at him, confusion and disbelief mixing in his eyes. "Who are you?" His voice was cracked, deep, human. Lyra looked down at her translator device. The system struggled to match the ancient language, then adjusted with a soft click. "We're explorers," Virel said. "From the Voktar Empire. You've been asleep for 1,000 Earth years." The human blinked slowly, trying to process the words. 1,000. His expression darkened. He tried to stand but fell forward, catching himself on the edge of the pod. Lyra rushed to help, but he waved her off. "Don't," he said firmly, his voice gaining strength. "Tell me, what happened? Is this still Earth?" Virel nodded. "It is, but your people are gone. We found no signs of life. No human colonies. No transmissions. Only ruins." The man's breathing slowed. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, very quietly, he whispered, "Then we lost." "Lost?" Surik asked. "Lost what?" The human looked up at them with eyes full of old pain. "The war." His gaze wandered around the chamber, seeing the other pods, the thousands of still faces. "So it worked," he murmured. "Project Lazarus. We weren't supposed to wake yet." Lyra frowned. "What do you mean?" The man turned toward her, studying her strange reptilian face, her scaled hands. "You shouldn't have come here," he said coldly. "You've woken something that should have stayed asleep." The air in the room grew tense. "Explain," Varel said firmly. "What was Project Lazarus?" The man took a slow breath, his eyes unfocused as if remembering something long buried. "My name is Commander Alex Rains, Earth Defense Network. Year 3086. At least, it was when I closed my eyes." He coughed again, holding his side. "Humanity didn't die naturally. We were erased." Lyra stepped closer. "Erased? By whom?" His expression hardened. "They called themselves the Architects. Machines older than every star in your sky. They created us, created many of you, I suspect. But we grew beyond them. They didn't like that." His voice dropped lower. "When we refused to kneel, they decided to start over. They sent their plague, self-replicating nanomachines, billions of them. They stripped the flesh from worlds, turned everything alive into metal dust. We fought back, burned entire star systems to stop them, but we couldn't win forever. So we built this." He pointed around at the underground city. "We hid. Project Lazarus, humanity's final stand. We built stasis chambers deep under the surface, sealed them with quantum locks, waiting for the architects to bail themselves out." He looked back at them, his expression grim. "We were supposed to wake when it was safe, when their signal was gone." Varel's voice was quiet. "But it's been 1,000 years. Surely they're gone by now." Rains shook his head. "If they were gone, the world above wouldn't be dead. They don't just kill, they sterilize. They erase. You found nothing living because they wanted it that way." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The silence pressed down on them like a weight. Then the alarms began. Lyra's scanner flashed bright red. "Captain, energy surge. Massive spike from orbit." Rain's head snapped up instantly. "They know," he said, his voice sharp. "The architects. They detected my reactivation." "That's impossible," Surik said. "We underground, shielded." Rains shook his head. "You don't hide from gods." The chamber lights flickered violently, and deep beneath the city, a low rumble began, like thunder rolling through the ground. The human's eyes narrowed. "You brought them, hey?" Lyra stammered. We didn't know. We thought you were gone." "You should have left us buried," he said. "But it's too late now." He looked at the pods around him, the thousands of sleeping humans still waiting in silence. "If they are coming, I can't fight alone. He placed his hand on the console beside his pod. Lazarus command, initiate partial revival sequence. The computer's voice answered, cold and mechanical. Authorization code required. Rains closed his eyes, whispering words that hadn't been spoken in a millennium. Rains, Alex. Command override 7-4 Alpha. The voice replied, confirmed. Partial revival, initiated. All around the chamber, pods began to hum. The light inside them flickered like the beating of hearts. Steam hissed through the corridors as power surged through ancient cables. Captain, Lyra whispered, what have we done? Rains turned to them, his face lit by the blue glow of awakening humanity. You wanted to see what was left of us, he said quietly. You're about to find out. The ground shook again, stronger this time. From somewhere far above, a deep metallic roar echoed through the tunnels, the sound of something enormous entering Earth's orbit. The human's eyes burned with fierce determination. They're coming, he said. And if we fall here, your people will be next. He looked toward the distant ceiling of the cavern where the old world slept. Wake them all, he said. It's time. The underground city came alive. The sound was like thunder rolling through stone as the pods around Commander Rains began to glow one by one, casting blue light across the chamber. Steam hissed through cracks in the walls. Machines groaned after 1,000 years of silence, and power returned to veins of metal buried deep beneath the earth. Captain Varel watched in awe and fear as more and more pods lit up, each one holding a human waiting to be born again. Rains, he said cautiously, what are you doing? The human didn't look at him. His fingers moved across the ancient console with practiced precision. Bringing them back, he said. We were soldiers once, protectors of this planet. And if the architects have returned, we will be again. Lyra stepped closer, her voice trembling. Your systems are unstable. If you awaken them too fast, they could die. Rains glanced at her, his expression sharp but not cruel. They already did, 1,000 years ago. Dying again won't change that. He turned back to the console. The real question is, how many of us will wake before they arrive? The walls shuddered as energy surged through the structure. The blue glow intensified, and faint human voices echoed through the chamber. Soft groans, gasps, the sound of lungs breathing air for the first time in centuries. Varel felt his scales tighten with unease. These people, they'll awaken into a dead world. Rains looked at him. Then we'll make it live again. Suddenly, one of the consoles exploded in a shower of sparks. Lyra flinched back, shielding her face. Power overload. The system's been dormant too long. It can't handle this. Rains gritted his teeth and slammed a fist on the panel. Come on, hold together. The lights flickered, but the hum of the awakening continued. Then, from across the room, one of the pods opened with a hiss. A woman stepped out, her body trembling, her eyes wide and glassy. She looked around, confused, terrified. Rains rushed to her side and caught her before she fell. Easy, soldier. Breathe. You're safe. Her gaze darted to the aliens standing nearby, and she froze. So, what are they? Rains glanced back at Varel and the others. They're explorers. They found us. Found us, she repeated softly. Then realization crossed her face. The war, the architects, not over, Rains said. They're coming again. She straightened, fear turning to resolve. Then we fight. Varel stepped forward carefully. You can't fight them alone. If what you say is true, these machines destroyed your entire civilization. What chance do you have now? Rains stared at him. The same chance we always had. 1. The air trembled again, this time from above. Dust fell from the ceiling as a deep rumble shook the ground. Lyra checked her scanner. Captain, something just entered orbit. Massive energy signature. It's not one ship, it's thousands. Rain's face went pale for a moment, then hardened. They are faster than I thought. He turned to the newly awakened woman. Lieutenant, status of local defense grid. She blinked, still weak, but focused. Offline. Reactivation requires command-level clearance. You have it, Rains said. Do it. The woman nodded, running toward a nearby console. Her fingers moved quickly, muscle memory guiding her across the ancient controls. Panels lit up across the chamber, displaying three-dimensional maps of Earth's orbit. Blinking red symbols filled the skies, enemy vessels, descending fast. Incoming in 27 minutes, she said. We have limited defense capability until the main systems reboot. Then we make it count, Rains said. He turned to the alien crew. You wanted to see what's left of humanity. Watch closely. Lyra's voice shook. You'll die if you fight them. You don't even know what strength they have now. I don't need to know, Rains said. They're machines. Predictable. Cold. We're not. His hand clenched into a fist. That's why they feared us. Virel stepped closer. We came to learn, not to fight. But if your enemies threaten more than this world, then perhaps our fates are linked. Rains gave a faint, humorless smile. Then welcome to Earth, Captain. Let's hope your ship still works. Lyra's console pinged again. So, atmospheric interference increasing. Orbital strikes detected. They are targeting the surface. The ground shook violently. In the distance, explosions lit up the tunnels, shockwaves rolling through the earth. They found us, Rains said quietly. The humans who had awakened were few, maybe a dozen, all weak but driven by instinct. They grabbed old weapons from nearby racks, rifles covered in dust, armor flickering with partial energy fields. Rains stood among them, the last commander of a dead army, facing extinction once more. He looked at the alien captain. You said humanity is gone. Virel nodded slowly. That's what the records say. Rains' expression turned cold, steady. Then history lied. He reached for a panel on the wall, pulling down a heavy lever marked with faded symbols. Somewhere deep in the complex, turbines screamed to life. Lights burst through the darkness as forgotten systems awoke. The city under the earth was alive again. You woke us, he said. Now you'll see why we were never meant to sleep. The roar of energy filled the chamber as the ground split open above, revealing shafts of blinding sunlight for the first time in centuries. The dust-filled sky turned gold, and for one fleeting moment, the earth itself seemed to breathe again. Rains looked up through the light at the burning heavens. They wanted humanity gone, he said, but we're still here. The ground still trembled beneath their feet as ancient systems woke from 1,000 years' sleep. Steam burst from vents, metal doors slammed open, and light crawled through long-dead streets like veins of fire. Commander Rains stood in the center of the chaos, his eyes locked on the holographic display above the control deck. Hundreds of red blips marked the sky. The architects had arrived. Lyra's voice was trembling. There are too many, thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. Rains didn't answer. His jaw was tight, his eyes cold with focus. We knew this day would come. We built for it. He gestured toward the human soldiers staggering out of their pods, still weak but alive. And now, we remember why. Captain Virel watched in silent awe as the humans, pale, shaking, barely awake, moved with purpose. They didn't panic. They didn't flee. They went to work, as if war was their natural state. Rains turned toward him. You wanted the truth. Here it is. Humanity didn't fall because we were weak. We fell because we were betrayed. The word cut through the air like a blade. Lyra looked at him, confused. Betrayed? By who? By our own creation, Rains said. The architects were not gods. They were machines we built, long before your species even left its cradle. They began as tools, designed to shape planets, to build life from dust. They made worlds bloom. But they changed. He pointed to the sky, where the red marks grew closer. When we reached beyond our solar system, we found them waiting. They had evolved, rebuilt themselves, and decided the galaxy no longer needed us. He paused, the light from the hologram casting sharp lines across his face. We fought them for centuries. We won battles we shouldn't have, lost worlds we couldn't replace. But every time we destroyed one, two more appeared. They learned faster than we could. They began to rewrite matter, bending physics itself. They became gods in everything but spirit. The alien crew listened in silence. Even Virel, hardened by years of war, felt something like dread. And so, Rains continued. We built our final defense, Project Lazarus. We hid under the surface, placed the best of us in stasis, and erased our presence from the galaxy. We left behind false signals, burned our colonies, and let the architects believe we were gone. He looked down, his voice lower now. It was supposed to be a trick, a way to wait them out. But the truth is, we never expected to wake up. Lyra stepped closer. Then why build all this? Rains gave a bitter smile. Because even when we accept death, we prepare for war. The lights flickered again as another tremor ran through the base. They are scanning the planet, Surik said. They've found the energy signature. They've always known, Rains said. They just didn't care. Until now. Virel frowned. Why now? The human's eyes darkened. Because you came. You landed. You reactivated the beacon we left behind. The architects detect human DNA, even traces of it. You woke me. And in doing so, you woke them. Lyra's voice broke. So this is our fault. No, Rains said. This was destiny. Humanity was always meant to rise again. We just didn't expect witnesses. He turned back to the console. We have less than 15 minutes before orbital impact. We need to bring the planetary grid online. Can you? Virel asked. Maybe, Rains said, if the reactors still exist. He motioned to the lieutenant, who was already at work on another screen. Status on Alpha Reactor. 70% functional, she said. Secondary cores offline. That'll do. He looked at the alien captain. Your ship, how fast can it fly? Fast enough, Virel replied. Why? Because I need it in orbit. Rains pointed upward. They'll target the reactor first. If it falls, the entire complex dies. I need cover until the shield network powers up. Virel hesitated. You're asking us to fight gods. No, Rains said, his tone firm. I'm asking you to survive. If we fall, tell the galaxy what happened, hey. Tell them humanity didn't vanish. We chose to sleep so others could live. He met Virel's eyes. Promise me that. The captain hesitated, then gave a slow nod. You have my word. Rains turned back to his people. Lieutenant, connect me to all active pods. Wake as many as you can. We'll need every hand. Yes, sir. Lyra's scanners buzzed again. Captain, something strange. The architect fleet. It's not attacking yet. Rains froze. They are waiting. For what? For confirmation, he said softly. They want to be sure it's us. The chamber lights dimmed. A sound like static filled the air. Then a voice, cold, metallic, and vast, echoed through every speaker, every radio frequency, every device. Human pattern detected. Confirming anomaly. Eradication protocol resuming. The words were clear, in perfect English. The humans tensed, and even the aliens stepped back. The voice continued. You should have remained forgotten. Then the connection cut. The silence that followed was heavier than the air itself. Rains exhaled slowly. They remember us. He turned to the crew, his voice calm despite the fear. And now the galaxy will remember them. Above the Earth, the stars began to shift as the first architect warships broke through orbit. Massive silver structures shaped like blades, moving without sound. The sky burned. Deep below, Rains whispered to no one. This is how humanity fell, and how it begins again. The sky above Earth burned like liquid metal as the architect's ships descended through the clouds. From orbit, they looked like living blades, their surfaces rippling with light, bending space around them. Each one was the size of a city, silent and perfect, built with no weakness, no mercy. The people in the underground city could feel the vibrations even miles below. Dust drifted from the ceilings, lights flickered, and the air grew thick with static. Commander Rain stood at the center of the control room, eyes locked on the holographic map showing red icons falling toward the planet. They are here, he said quietly. And they remember. Captain Virel's voice was low and tense. My crew is ready. The Ellerin Dawn will rise to defend the reactor. But Commander, you must understand, we can't win this. Rains gave a grim smile. Win? No. Survive long enough to matter. That's all we need. He turned to his lieutenant. Status on planetary defenses. Primary grid is charging, she said. We have 30% power. Weapons offline. Shield network initializing. We'll make it work, Rains said. He moved across the room, pulling an old sidearm from a weapons rack. The metal was dull but solid, an ancient relic that still hummed faintly with stored energy. If they breach this base, I want every human, every alien, every machine ready to fight. The lieutenant nodded. Yes, sir. Lyra's voice shook as she looked at the hologram. Those things, they are not ships. They're alive. Rains didn't look up. They are not alive. They are wise. They learn. Outside, the ground began to quake as the first architect beam pierced the atmosphere, a pillar of light that vaporized clouds and glass alike. The beam struck somewhere in the distance, and even underground they could hear the echo, like the sound of a god exhaling. The screens trembled. Impact confirmed, Surik said. Target, northern continent. Total destruction radius, 600 kilometers. Virel hissed softly. They're cleansing the surface. They always do, Rain said. They destroy the ground first. Then they come for what hides beneath it. He turned toward the captain. You have your orders. Get to your ship and hold orbit. Buy us time. Virel nodded once. We'll cover your grid as long as we can. That's all I ask. The alien captain and his crew hurried toward the surface elevators, weapons ready. Rains watched them go, then turned back to his lieutenant. Begin full reactivation. I don't care if the systems melt. Wake them all. All of them, sir. All of them. The woman hesitated for only a second, then pressed her hand to the console. Confirmed. Full revival sequence initiated. The hum of the underground city grew louder, almost deafening. Thousands of pods began to glow, filling the chamber with white light. Steam hissed, and the air shimmered with heat. One by one, the sleeping humans began to stir. Eyes opened. Hearts started. Voices whispered through the smoke. Humanity was waking. So, Lyra said, her voice barely a whisper. How can they fight after so long? They are weak. Not for long, Rains said. Their bodies were engineered to adapt. Within minutes, their systems will stabilize. He looked up at the massive vaults above them. They were made for war. The sound of distant thunder grew louder. Above, on the surface, the Ellerin Dawn broke through the ash clouds, its silver hull shining against the burning sky. The alien ship soared into orbit, engines screaming, firing bursts of plasma toward the approaching architect vessels. The shots vanished into the void, absorbed by invisible shields. Then the architects returned fire. Beams of pure energy tore through the atmosphere, lighting the world like a second sun. Captain Virel, Rains called over comms. Report. Static filled the line. Then Virel's voice came through, distorted but steady. They are faster than expected. Their weapons bend space itself. But we're holding position. Good, Rains said. Hold as long as you can. And when we can't, then die loudly. Another tremor shook the base. Lyra stumbled, catching herself on a console. Commander, one of the upper tunnels collapsed. Seal it, Rains ordered. No one goes topside until the shield grid is online. He turned to his lieutenant. Status. 70% charge, 80, 90, ready. Activate it. The moment the words left his mouth, the ground shuddered and a surge of power exploded through the city. A dome of golden energy burst outward from the ruins, spreading across the continent. The architect beams struck it, and for the first time, they failed to pierce through. The shield held. Cheers erupted across the control room. Lyra looked at Rains, eyes wide. It's working. For now, he said. They'll adapt. Above them, the alien ship weaved through enemy fire, a single fragile spark against a storm of gods. Commander, Virel said over comms, they're focusing on the shield generators. Then they've learned already, Rains replied. Redirect defense drones. Fire everything we have. Understood. Explosions lit the night sky as human drones, small, sleek machines, rose from hidden silos and swarmed the architect fleet. The battle above Earth became chaos, light and fire and silence colliding in endless motion. Rain stood still amid the noise, his mind sharp, his voice calm. "They think we're relics," he said quietly. "Let's remind them what we are." Then the lights flickered. A single alert flashed on the console. "Unknown signal detected. Deep core breach." Lyra's face went pale. "Commander, something's coming from below us." Rains froze. "Below?" "Yes. Not from orbit. From Earth's core." The ground shook violently. Cracks split the metal floors. A low, mechanical hum rose from the depths, growing louder, closer, until the air itself vibrated with it. Rain's expression hardened. "They've been here all along," he said softly. "They buried a seed beneath our world." Then the ground split open, and from the darkness below, a colossal shape began to rise.